Are we all set? Okay, Trustee Epitoff, you're a minute late. We'll- Here we go. Welcome to the Winnetka Village Council, LO, Winnetka Village Council regular meeting and study session for August 5th, 2025. We'll call this meeting to order and ask that everyone mute their cell phones and other devices so we don't interrupt the proceedings. And I'll ask our village manager, Bayhan, to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Handler?
Here.
Albinson? Trustee Orsic?
Here.
Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
Trustee Apatoff?
Here on time.
Trustee Myers?
Here.
President Dearborn.
Here. And now I will ask Trustee Albinson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Kirk. And Rob, can we do a quorum check? And are you going to check on the September?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Sure. Okay. Meetings, so the August 12th study session is canceled. August 19th regular meeting, are there any conflicts?
Yeah,
Tina?
I'm moving somebody into college.
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody?
Probably, if I can do it, it would have to be remote. but-
Okay. Thank you. And looking to September, at the way the schedule is falling, proposing to cancel the Tuesday after Labor Day, and then have the meetings on the 9th and the 16th. Look okay?
Okay with that?
Okay? All right.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. All right, at this time in the meeting, we'll ask for item 4, public comment, and ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak about an item not on tonight's agenda. Not on the agenda tonight. Anyone for public comment? Come on up. Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Elizabeth, and I'm here for two things. I want to ask for permission to do something, and also to see where to get funding for it. I don't know if you do grants directly, or if you're going to kind of segue me to the Winnetka Arts Commission or Department. And I'll tell you a little bit. I actually wanted to project up some imagery, and I understand that's not possible. So I'm going to just kind of tell you a little bit about myself and what I'm asking for permission to do. So I grew up in Wilmette in Northbrook. I went to Loyola Academy. I graduated from the Art Institute. I've been working in the visual art industry for the past 2 decades. You can find me sharing my love of creative expression around the world in galleries, businesses, and boutiques. I also teach, lead artistic teams, and work as a photographer. I'm inspired. I don't know why I'm kind of nervous right now.
We're very friendly.
I'm really articulate. I'm I don't know.
All good.
And you have 3 minutes, by the way.
Okay, I'm inspired by minimalism, simplicity, and spontaneity. If I only have 3 minutes, then I'm going to probably just email you some of my information about
Good.
my own practice and tell you a little bit about the project that I'd like to do. So I want to do a series of portraits. I have little samples because I can't project them, but they're presidential portraits, and I'll explain them kind of. I don't know if you want to hand them around. These are just kind of visuals because I can't project anything. So from presidents to kings, billionaires to scientists, supermodels to spiritual leaders, this intimate collection of portraits will document who we value, what we protect, why we believe, when we follow, where we invest, and how we decide. The project addresses delegation of influence, allocation of resources, and the possession of power. It illustrates authority, dominance, hierarchy, and control, while emphasizing humanism, behavior, and esotericism. Each portrait will be a collage of natural landscapes, handmade drawings, and curated content found in historical databases and archives. Color will be used intentionally and symbolically to communicate time, location, and sentiment, while the overall aesthetic reiterates visual appeal and naturalistic effects. In response to the AI era, I will also introduce artificial processes into my practice in artwork. While my ideation, aesthetic, and content remain consistent, the new media will allow for an unplanned investigation of the intersection connecting physical reality and simulated existence while revealing another layer of materiality. It suggests the delicate relationship between creative expression and verifiable truth while demonstrating the boundaries among perspective, perception, and fact. The art pieces will be digitally projected onto a surface. So this is where you guys come in. It can be an existing element like grass or a spontaneous sustainable material like recycled sheer cotton outdoors at Elder Lane Park and or the beach. Those samples are kind of what the projections would look like, but would actually be the portraits projected onto like those physical landscapes. So we think of presidents as like intellectual charge, but the reality is a lot of them were actually protecting space and land. And so I think that there's something kind of poetic about putting these images onto physical property and space. The large scale format between 22 feet and 22 feet and 72 to 72 feet will create a sense of grandeur and position and sovereignty. The concrete characters will be projected into an ethereal dimension commanding a sense of godliness, supremacy, and weightlessness, beyond creating historical
Elizabeth,
intimacy.
I'm sorry, we're at 4 minutes.
Okay.
Here's what I would suggest, is Kristen here? Can you get Elizabeth, can you two connect our deputy manager, Kristen Kazinas?
Yeah.
Get information and just send that, and she can
Send it
route
to
it to
you?
the council,
Sure.
and
And
what
those are-
you're asking for.
Okay, so I'm asking for permission to project it at Elder Lane, the images,
Okay.
and then grant funding. I don't know if I come to you guys directly or go to the commissions, but I don't think that they have the bandwidth for a project like this
Okay.
because the projector alone is.
Well, we'll just, we need to see what it is.
Sure.
And then we can
I
take it
wanted
under
to kind of-
advisement. But thank you very much.
Okay.
And why don't you connect with Kristen,
I
get your
will after.
information. Thank you, though. That sounds very interesting. Thank you. Ted, come on up.
Sorry, I'm a little more disheveled than usual. I was trying to fix a drain for the last 4 hours, not successfully. Hi, Ted Winichenko. Okay, so it's sad. It's just so sad. So I guess I'm glad. I guess my fears of the end of civilization are now shared by like a Cambridge scholar. I don't know if you guys heard of Goliath's Curse coming out next month. Anyway, maybe all of this doesn't matter, but that only makes me want to fight more. So here's the village. You got a guy out there hiring people to say that the lake is his property and that people are trespassing when they're on the lake, and the village stands by and kind of says, yeah, that's sure, you can do that. You got 1055 Sheridan, which applied for a permit to build a groin, a huge groin, on the north end of their beach. Because Shabika, who was their consultant, and for 30 years has said you need to build those at the south end of the beach to trap sediment, now said, oh, no, you want to build it on the north end to help keep sediment there. But that's not true, right? Because the only reason they built it was to have this tiny little channel where Fisher Lane comes out so that no one can cross onto their property. And the village, said, oh, yeah, we don't mind. Jim Burnell, we don't mind. They're going to put some sand down. That's going to be great. That sand is going to be gone in a couple years, and it will be completely lost. And so who speaks for the citizens of Winnetka? Who protects their interest? Because it really seems like what this council and this village does is protect the interest of the people that own property east of Sheridan. And those people were shocked when something actually was passed not to their liking. I think perhaps we could just save everyone a lot of trouble. You guys should just vacate all village land east of Sheridan. Everything. Roads, make the park district sell off their property, just give it all to the private landowners. They'll love it. It'll be totally in keeping with the village's commitment to property rights. And they won't have to worry about anyone like infringing on their quiet time along the private lake that is Lake Michigan, or was Lake Michigan. We could maybe name it something else, Lake Ishbia. I'm not sure. We could brainstorm that. But it's just sad that the village will not stand up for the interests of the village, but will just sort of like quietly allow people to take land, people to block off access to public resources, and not do anything about it. And it just makes me sad. But I think the cheapest way would be just to vacate everything east of Sheridan. It'd be simple, you know, wouldn't have to worry about it. The police would know you're trespassing. It would be so simple. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Okay, anyone else interested in making a public comment tonight? No? Oh, come on up.
Hi there. My name is Brian Donahoe. I live at 582 Provident, right at the corner of Spruce and Provident.
Okay.
A few months ago, we had some no parking signs put up on the corners of basically all the corner homes on the Spruce and Provident. And doesn't seem to be anywhere else on any of the corners in the tree streets. And it just seems like it kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody told myself or any of my neighbors about it. Even on Birch and Spruce, there doesn't seem to be any signs or anything. Doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. I know that some of my neighbors in the past have tried to get a stop sign put there. I'm right on the northwest corner. I see people blow by the stop sign all the time. I think it's kind of a no-brainer to have a stop sign there. And also, all of the, sorry, I didn't really prepare any thoughts. I just saw that there was a council meeting here, and I just rode my bike over real quick.
Just show up.
I have a good amount of property line, essentially, that borders both streets, and I only have really room for one parking spot. That's the same for all of my neighbors as well. And again, I looked at Locust and Spruce. There's no such sign that basically says no parking from here to the intersection. Even on Provident and Elm and Provident and Oak, there doesn't seem to be any such sign. It really just seems like it's on our corner there. And I was just curious as to the thought process behind that. And I think it would just make a lot, and I could see maybe there's a obstructed view for people who are going north and south on Provident, but I really think that a stop sign there would just make a lot more sense. A friend of mine actually got into an accident. He was hit by somebody who didn't realize there was no stop sign on Provident, and they hit him, and his whole family was in the car as well.
Wow.
So just wanted to bring that to the council's attention, or if there's any type of guidance that you could give me about like how I could go about investigating this or working on this a little bit more.
Brian, are you the house building the garage?
No.
No, that's not your house.
I
Okay.
did do a big project 2 years ago on the blue house on the northwest
Okay,
corner
yes.
there. We just, the porch, yeah. That's me.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yes, I remember. Okay.
Yeah, the Hackley porch, yeah. I was here and did
Yeah.
the whole thing here, and
So why
I thank
don't-
everybody for pushing that through, because we're very happy.
Why
now.
don't, Kristen, why don't you get Brian's information, if you would, and we'll get back to you on this.
Okay, I appreciate your
Okay.
time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, is that okay? All right, good. Anyone else interested in making a public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment, move. Yes, Kristen's getting names and numbers. We'll go to reports. Trustees, we'll start with Trustee Myers,
No report.
Trustee Apatow,
No report today.
Trustee Dahlman,
No report.
Trustee Orsick,
No report.
Trustee Albinson,
No report.
Trustee Handler,
No report.
Village Attorney, Village Manager.
No report this
Oh, my
evening.
God. No reports. No reports. Okay. We'll move on to item 6, presentations. 6A, the 2024 Historic Preservation Awards. Every spring, the Historic Preservation Commission accepts nominations for construction projects within the village that help preserve the unique history and charming characteristics of Winnetka. Historic Preservation Commissioner Chair Jack Coladarchi is here to present the 2024 Preservation Award, and then we'll move on to questions from council. Come on up, Jack. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you too. And I guess this is the first time I may be in front of this, members of the community. Hey, Scott. My name's Jack Coladarchi, and I live on Cherry Street. I was born here in 1963, and then got lost and disappeared for several years and came back again in 2005, and have been living here since. I've been part of village government and the different parts of it since, I think the year after I moved back, Ed Harney tricked me onto the Winnetka caucus, and it all started downhill from there, so to speak. thank you to the council for supporting the work of the Historic Preservation Commission. We do work that is, we approve demolition permits, and when we can, we hand out awards and landmark status and other, we try to preserve the historic integrity of the village. And as you can see by driving around, it's tricky. Land is very valuable here, and people who want to build the dream house, as they tell us when they come in front of us, spot the land and ignore the house, and then we do what we can to slow them down. This particular property today is absolutely one of our best stories. This started out in the middle of 2020. Mr. Christoph applied for demolition permit. And during the hearing, we questioned him and asked him, have you considered other changes, other ways to handle this? Is it possible you can save this property? And he hadn't really thought about it at the time, but thought about it, came back and said, you know what, I will take advantage of the square foot bonus and the other bonuses that are available to me if I save this. And these were changes that the council, thank you, had made to the ordinance for historic preservation. Because of those changes, we were able to offer, or the village was able to offer up these benefits, which he took advantage of and saved the house. It's a beautiful house built in 1925 in the Mediterranean Revival style. And again, thank God he saved it. And this is, again, one of our best stories, not only because he saved the house, but we were able to come back and give him a preservation award for 2024. Chris, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how the hell to do this. All right. So we seem to have jumped. Okay, this you see here are our categories for award categories. And again, anybody you can put a house up for this, but the owner has to agree to it. In other words, we don't sneak in and say, okay, we're gonna put you up for an award, and they say, no, I don't want the publicity. They have to say, yeah, that's fine with me. And these are our categories: restoration, rehabilitation, and new construction. We're in the midst of, Scott was present for our discussion yesterday about a new construction house, and we're trying to determine whether or not this construction fits within the categories of what we have in the award here. And it's an interesting discussion. Hopefully it didn't go too long. But it was interesting to try and determine whether or not this house is effective. The house before us, oops, I'm sorry, let me skip over here. Is a rehabilitation. And the changes that he's made is he's leaving the front, he and his wife are leaving the front the same, and you can see on the bottom picture there how it ended up. And they're adding on to the back. So the benefits that they added, or the benefits they took advantage of, added into the back space of the house. And again, one of the endless complaints that we get for people who come up to tear down houses is there's not enough space. It's also, I need a 12-foot basement so I can have my basketball court, which they never use. But if you look at this, at the change in the house here, I think one of the most, the most obvious one is the cleaning up of the front of the house and the removal of the overgrown trees, which were probably put in 1925 and never trimmed or held back. They've redone all of that. Now my eyes aren't so good, so we're going to have. So on the project scope, we have included preservation of historic main block of the house that involved repairing arched windows, installing French doors, repairing exterior trim features, and applying a uniform new exterior coat. And as it says here, renovation followed withdrawn demolition permit application and added a rear building addition to modernize the home. Again, this is great, and this is the fun stuff to appear in front of you on, is to be able to have this award. So if you could.
Come on up. You want to introduce yourself?
Yep. So I'm Christoph Marzek, the owner of 1180 Oakley. it was certainly a fun project as we went from literally wrecking ball to tonight to conclude it. So with your help, we came to Winnetka wanting new. This house came on the market, and frankly, it was hard to think of tearing it down personally. But it just wouldn't fit with modern living. With your acceptance of the square footage, the modernization, adding an attached garage, things like that, we were able to get what we wanted, still keep the house, still be a staple of the block, and preserve the home ultimately. So it worked
great.
out for everybody, I think.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Jack, do you want to present Christoph the award?
Sure. Okay. Okay. Christoph, on the behalf of the Village of Winnetka and the Historic Preservation Commission, here's your award. It's a, and if you,
All right.
these are, let's put it up there. I'm sorry. So we can show it to the,
Chris, you want to get a nice picture of that? Because thank you.
I just wanted to ask, I was on zoning, I was on the zoning commission when you came forward, and this was one I was so delighted to support you in. And I used to live around the corner at 1188 Asbury. But I recall one of the cool things you were going to do is the garage in the front, which was really, could not fit a contemporary car, you turned into your office. Is that what ended up happening? I remember thinking that would be a beautiful office with those historic doors.
Yeah,
So-
we had to replace the original doors, but actually we brought back the original architectural style doors.
Yeah.
Because we happen to have the original blueprints. That definitely
Very
helped
cool.
the renovation.
Well, really lovely. It is a great story. Thank you.
Well, Jack, thank you, and thank you for your work with the Historic Preservation Commission. You're a great leader. We appreciate it.
well, I appreciate the support of the council for what we do, and again, we'll carry on.
Good, good.
Thank you.
I believe, and I may be wrong on this, someone told me that on Oakley, there has not been a tear down on Oakley, I believe. And they're very proud of that, and they were very happy when you did what you did. So thank you on behalf of the neighbors. It's a wonderful project. Thank you. It's a great example. Any other comments from the council on this issue?
I think it's just great that what we proposed is being put into
The 20%,
practice.
yeah.
The additional FAR, yeah, and
Wish more would do it.
and homeowners are seeing that as a real carrot versus a stick, which is what we wanted. That's what we intended, and it's nice to see it in practice.
Absolutely right. Anyone else? Okay. We will now move on to item 6B, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR. The council will be reviewing the village's financial accounting for the fiscal year and will be provided a summary of the village's overall financial condition. Chief Financial Officer Tim Sloth will review and introduce Ron Amon from Lauterbach and Amon, the village's auditor. Tim, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening. Presented for your review is the village's annual comprehensive financial report for the year ending December 31st, 2024, otherwise known as the audit. The main focus of an audit is to provide the village's financial stakeholders reasonable assurance that our financial statements are accurate and complete. With me is the village's Assistant Finance Director, Del Duckworth, Accounting Manager Kathy Sarapuk, who are both integral in compiling the audit, and also Ron Amon is here from the accounting firm Lauterbach and Amon, and he will be presenting a little bit later in this presentation. Before turning it over to Ron, I did want to run through a few items of note in the audit, and along with some of the numbers. First of all, the audit is prepared in accordance with the high standards of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and the village received the GFOA Certificate of Excellence, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. This recognizes local governments that go above and beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles and prepare the annual report in the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. And as in years past, we expect that this audit report will also win the award. As part of the audit process, the auditors provide a management letter, which includes various recommendations, along with comments from staff addressing the recommendations. These recommendations will be implemented during the annual budget process. One of the prior recommendations that we did implement this year was to conduct an appraisal of capital assets. In fiscal year 2024, we completed the appraisal, which was the first ever done of the village's capital assets. The appraisal team identified various assets or asset valuations that were not previously included in the village's capital records, with the majority of this related to infrastructure such as various streets, sidewalks, and bridges that were previously not tracked but should be according to current accounting standards. As a result of the appraisal, total beginning net position in the statement of activities was increased by $15.1 million, and this is considered a prior year restatement and is shown in multiple occasions throughout the report and listed as a restatement change in accounting estimates. This appraisal was a major undertaking by the Finance Department and will be performed on a regular basis every 5 years going forward. Moving on now to review some of the major funds identified in the report, and starting with the general fund. The general fund is the main operating fund of the village and posted a drawdown of fund balance of $851,000, which was significantly less and favorable to the amount budgeted. For 2024, we budgeted to have a drawdown of $3.56 million, and in total, the general fund had a positive variance to budget of $2.71 million. Key drivers of the $2.75 million positive variance include, first of all, revenue came in at 105% of budget, with every major category of revenue exceeding its budget. This includes property taxes, sales and use tax, income tax, public safety fees, and investment income. On the expenditure side, the village held the line on expenditures, with operating departments coming in at $1.02 million under budget, or 96.5% of the approved budget. In total, the general fund unassigned fund balance currently stands at $18.1 million, or 61.4% of operating expenditures. With the village's fund balance policy requiring a minimum of 50% of budgeting operating expenditures, we exceeded that policy minimum. For 2024, the village assigned a portion of that total fund balance, totaling $10.8 million, and this assigned category of fund balance are amounts identified with a known intent to be used for a specific purpose. So for 2024, these assignments included transfers identified in the 2025 5-year CIP. That includes $6.7 million scheduled transfers to the Business District Revitalization Fund, $2.4 million scheduled transfers to the Stormwater Fund, and $1.6 million in transfers to the Facilities Fund over the next 5 years. Moving on to the enterprise funds, the total unrestricted net position in the utility funds increased slightly from $22.2 million to $22.6 million, with the water and electric funds generating positive cash flow for the operating activities of $4.2 million, not including budgeted transfers. In terms of capital spending for the year, capital spending totaled $20.2 million, which was about 67% of the budget, with key capital investments being made in Stormwater Fund of $14.3 million, street rehabilitation of $1.6 million, and water and electric infrastructure of $3.7 million. In regards to the village's public safety pensions, the results of the audit shows that the funding status of the public safety pension funds increased in 2024. The police pension currently stands at 75.8% funded, up from 72.3% in 2023, and the fire pension fund stands at 71.4% funded, up from 68% funded in 2023. Pension funds are up primarily due to investment performance in 2024. The IMRF, Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, the pension system that currently covers most of the non-public safety staff, is currently at 92.9% funded, a slight increase up from 92.7%. And finally, the village posted $7.6 million in grant revenue for the year, largely driven by the $7 million DCO stormwater grant, which was booked as a revenue in 2024 and received in 2025. So at this time, I will turn it over to Ron, who is here tonight to present the report in a little more detail and answer any questions that you may have about the audit.
Thanks, Tim. Ron Amon, good evening, everyone. The first thing I always allude to is the independent auditor's report. So in your bound report, it's on page 12, 13, and 14. All units of government by Illinois state statute are required to have an independent auditor's report. Once again, our opinion is clean or unmodified. It is the highest level and the only opinion you want from your auditors. From there, I'm going to do a little different than what Tim did, a lot of budget. So what I thought I would do tonight is just take 4 numbers to try to take a 176-page report and take 4 different fund types and tell you what happened of revenue versus expenditures for the year. So the first page I'm going to allude to is page 33. Those are a series of funds that we call your governmental funds. And you can see on page 33 the summation of the 3 different fund types that we have there. The third line up from the bottom in the far right column shows a net increase of $43,000. So your governmental funds had a slight increase of your revenues were higher than your expenditures. The next pages I'm going to point is page 37 and 38. And on these 2 pages, you have 2 different what we call proprietary funds. The first ones are your business type or your enterprise funds. And you can see there on that page, it's now the 5th number up from the top that talks about the net change in fund balance under the total column, and it's $15,526,000. So your proprietary business type increased just over $15 million. And then that same 5th number up from the bottom under your internal service funds, which are also a proprietary type, showed a decrease of $875,000. And the last page I'll point to is page 42. And this goes in line to what Tim pointed earlier, your 2 different pension funds for police and fire. The third line up from the bottom shows a net increase of just over $5.3 million for your police and fire pension funds. And once again, as Tim said, it's mainly due to the increase in the investment earnings in the 2 different pools. So from there, I'll take any questions about the audit report, the management letter, or our audit process.
Questions for Ron? Trustee Handler, didn't you have some questions? Or not? Not today, you don't? Anyone? Trustee Myers?
I think the previous council did a stellar job managing the finances.
There's no doubt about it. Those of us that were on that council did a great job.
Feel in awe of their
Anyone not on that council,
Yeah.
well, I'll say this. Ron, you always inspire confidence here. I want to say to our finance department, Dell and Kathy and Tim, great job on this, and great job keeping the ship going forward. These numbers look good. I'm always looking for ways to cut Tim out from his ankles, but I didn't find any. We had a conversation. I tried, but I didn't do very well on it this time around. But, you know, this opens up the holy season of budgeting, I think. And so just please, October 24th is the highlight of your year. That's the all-day budget meeting where we dig into this in great detail. And so this is kind of the start of it. Would you say, Rob? I mean,
It usually kicks it off, yes.
yeah. So here we are. We're off and running.
Just while you mentioned the 24th, we may need to look at some alternative dates that may kick into the following week.
Oh, really?
Yes. We'll follow up with you after this meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
Halloween.
Hold the 24th, but maybe that following Thursday.
Just one day, though.
Yeah, just the following Thursday.
We're just going to have a day.
Yeah, one day, yes.
Okay. Ron, let me ask you this. Everything looks great. Winnetka looks solid. Do we have any cracks in the armor here that we should be thinking about?
I don't think so. I think Tim pointed it out, but I didn't go back and look, but I think in a number of years of your management letter has been a fixed asset appraisal. So the village finally did it.
Yeah.
It does change a lot in here, and there's a lot of numbers that you got to kind of pull that out or add it back in. I'm probably not sure even staff would want to guess how much time that takes.
I imagine.
It's a big undertaking, and it's why a lot of communities kind of delay it and push it out. And so a testament is to continue to check those things off the box to make sure they get done. And now that you have the baseline, you can do it every 5 years and keep getting more solid, and hopefully the numbers won't change by as much as they did when you do the
So do we
initial.
put it away for 5 years, or do we monitor it
No,
within that 5-year
you continue to do
period?
your adds and deletes every year.
Yeah, okay.
And there shouldn't be cracks in there anymore unless, you know, annexations and
Yeah.
some changes in GASBs always can affect these things. But I think that's a real testament to continue to check those things off to make sure you do things like a fixed asset appraisal. And it's a huge undertaking. So
Okay, well, thank you
Yeah.
for getting that done. Scott?
Just a question, Ron, kind of beyond the numbers. Do you, in the process of the audit, ever look at areas of risk based on your assessment of policy actions that are taking place outside of Winnetka, at the state level, at the federal level, where we are exposed? And do you have any conversation, do you and Tim have any conversations around that?
It's absolutely part of the audit process. Us auditors don't like risk, so we try to mitigate that as much as we can. I think it goes a lot of different angles, and it's continual throughout the year. It's not just during the audit process. Our firm tries to do training with all of our clients, put out a lot of different publications, put out different links to different associations and organizations that help the whole audit process across the entire country, not just, and then we have to obviously adhere to Illinois statutes. So yeah, we're constantly doing it. We work with a lot of different attorneys to make sure we're in line with that side of it. But it's a continual process of the whole year that we work with Tim and the staff and making sure that everybody's aligned with new statutes and new standards that are going to come at us.
I always look for surprises, and I didn't really see much, which is great. I always looked, obviously I get a little more frustrated with negative surprises, so, I want to know about those early, and since we were not informed of them, obviously I didn't think there would be any. Any surprises for Tim, Rob, or Kristen? Is this kind of where you thought it would come in? I know we're a little underspent, but we like to do that, not spend it if we don't need to spend it.
From my perspective, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It was really heartening to see revenues perform across the board better than expected. This year, I don't know that our projections will be as steady. Just think there's a little bit of uncertainty out there. But overall, I would say that in terms of when you look at what drives our budget, capital spend and personnel, we're catching up on, filling staffing positions. So they're, the next year, there probably wouldn't be as much savings budget, spend to budget will probably be a little tighter.
Okay.
But overall, yeah, there were no surprises from my look at all.
Great. Thank you.
Was that we are one of 5 municipalities to have a AAA bond rating? I'm sure we floated that before, but that's great. Was it 5?
Which is important.
My glasses back on 4.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we ever need to use it, yes.
Okay. I think, Scott, to your point, I think that this budget season, Tim, we're probably going to see different scenarios based on policies that are occurring outside of Winnetka, grant funding and so on. We're going to have to be moving the boxes around a little bit, seeing what might happen, what else might happen, and that's just the world we're in right now, and we're going to have to be doing that. So that's why this budget season coming up, I think, is particularly important. So, Ron, thank you very much for all you do for Winnetka. We appreciate it. And again, Kathy and Dell and Tim, thank you. Very excellent report. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, we now move on to the establishment of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And that, Rob, is a voice vote. Oh, that's Bob, a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No one opposed. Okay. We'll move on to item 8, approval of consent agenda. And Rob, would you please list out the items on the consent agenda?
Certainly. Approval of the Village Council minutes for July 8th, 2025, study session and special meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated July 11th, 2025 through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $1,896,586.38. Ordinance number M11, 2025, designating 615 Elm Street as a landmark for introduction and adoption. And resolution number R55, 2025, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for route maintenance of state routes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
So moved.
And there's a second?
Second?
And Rob, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Alvinson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. We move on to item 9, ordinances and resolutions. 9A, ordinance number M10, 2025, granting variations from the Winnetka zoning ordinance to allow work beyond ordinary repair and maintenance to a residence and construction of an addition and attached garage within the R5 Single-Family Residential District, specifically 826 Humboldt Avenue, and this is being put forth for introduction and possible adoption. The applicant is proposing to complete extensive interior renovations, exterior renovations, and construction of a two-story addition. And Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to review. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, President Dearborn. So the property is located on the south side of Humboldt Avenue between Foxdale and the UP Railroad. It's within the R5 Single Family Zoning District and contains an existing two-story residence and detached garage. It is within the R5 Single Family District, and the zoning of the property is consistent with the comprehensive plan designation there as well. These are photos of the existing structure on the front elevation, which is the north elevation, and the west side elevation. The existing lot is legally non-conforming as an interior lot with regards to both lot size and lot width. The existing residential structure is also legal non-conforming as it encroaches into the required front yard setback of 30 feet with a setback of 4.54 feet, and encroaches into the required side yard setback, which would be required to be 6 feet, but the existing is 1.39 feet from that east property line. The portion of the plat of survey shown on the left shows the existing single-family residence and detached garage on the property, and the proposed site plan on the right shows the location of the proposed improvements, including those within the required front yard setback, which are a new basement window well on the west side of the home, structural changes to the front entrance and vestibule in their existing location, and a deepening of the basement. The additional variations requested are necessitated by structural changes to provide a new window opening in the legal non-conforming east side building wall with that existing side yard setback of 1.39 feet. And these changes are highlighted on the site plan there on the right. And an unarticulated east building wall of just over 53 feet in length, where articulation of 18 inches would be required for building additions if the side building wall is at least 40 feet long. So this was reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals at its July 14th meeting. After hearing from staff and the applicant, the ZBA heard from one member of the public who expressed concern for maintaining a house with a shorter than required setback from the street compared to adjacent properties, instead of alternately demolishing and rebuilding the property. The ZBA members highlighted that the requests were kept within the existing footprint of the house for the exceptions, while allowing it to be modernized and updated. Some members also noted the constraints of the lot and the difficulty redeveloping the property with its size and shape. And then ultimately, by a 6-0 vote, the board recommended approval of the request. So this evening, after hearing from the applicant and the public, and I know the architect for the applicant is present if there are questions, given that the ZBA unanimously recommended approval, the council may wish to consider waiving introduction of ordinance 10-2025 and consider the adoption, or consider only the introduction of the ordinance this evening. That concludes the staff presentation available for questions.
Thank you, Scott. Questions for Scott? Kim?
Two questions. One, I don't see any, it looks like there's no variance for GFA. So this is, with this, even with the addition, it's within the requirement. If the house was torn down, would the GFA be smaller than what this will result in?
To depend on what they propose for the new house, so certainly
Oh,
the
but I'm
setbacks
sorry,
would change.
would the allowable amount, what I'm trying to figure out is,
Do they have
if they
more
tore it
GFA?
down, yeah, do they get more GFA by keeping this because there's such a, a third of the house is,
Would be lesser GFA allowed for that.
if they adhered to all the setbacks with a brand-new house, I would think. Or did they even pursue that and asked for those numbers?
I don't believe they
Okay.
considered demolishing the house.
Okay.
Any other questions for Scott? And our zoning board, the minutes were a full review of this, and as usual, they did a terrific review. Is the applicant here? Would you like to say anything about your project? No? You're good? Okay. Public comment. Is there any public comment on this project? Okay, seeing none, bring it back. Is there, Trustee Orsic?
I'm personally in support of this. It's keeping the same footprint. It's next door. I think I've been in the house next door is a nice new modern home. And on the other side is the railroad tracks. So there's not really much else that's going to go on here. I'm sure that the neighbors would like to see this home spruced up and improved. And it's in keeping with what we just gave an award for. And I'm in favor of it and would be open to doing both
Waive
today.
introduction?
Yeah.
Other thoughts on that? Is there an appetite for
The
that?
same footprint if they're putting an addition on.
So the footprint is changing. They're not requesting any new variances outside of the existing footprint. So the window well and the front porch and the
Covering the
vestibule
front
are all in the
porch.
same footprint.
Right.
The areas
Or
where they're
where
asking
the
for exception.
variances are being requested is the same footprint.
Correct,
But
and the
obviously
addition to the rear is compliant.
No,
Yeah,
great.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yeah, I'm in support of this as well. I think it's important, it's interesting that, yes, it could probably be in compliance if it was torn down and rebuilt, but I think there's an important aspect that we need to keep in mind, that this is a thoughtful remodeling to make it a modern home. That's not going to be, I'm assuming not a $3 million home, right? And that's an important aspect, too. And so I think that, the property owner looks very targeted to me, didn't go crazy. I'm assuming the window well is also for secondary access for life safety. So there's a whole bunch of things when I look at the blueprints that I can just identify that are to come to code. So I think it's, for those reasons, I can support it.
Does anyone object to waiving introduction tonight on this? Okay, why don't we proceed on that? Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M10, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 10, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And Rob, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes?
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Okay, thank you and good luck with your project. Thank you for coming. Scott, thank you very much. We'll move on, I guess, to the study session portion of this meeting. Item number 10, which is a discussion on the 10A lead service line replacement program policy and funding. In August 2021, the state of Illinois enacted the Lead Service Line Replacement and Notification Act, requiring all removal of lead services by 2037. Tonight, council will be provided an update on the village's lead service line replacement program, policy, and funding. And tonight, our Water and Electric Director, Nick Nari, is here to review. Nick, welcome.
All right, good evening. Can everyone hear me? All right, so go ahead and jump in. So thank you for the opportunity tonight to provide you some updates on our lead service line replacement program and give you some food for thought as we head into our budget season. So just a background on what the lead service line program is. So the water distribution system consists of about 72 miles of water main and about 4,500 water services. In 2022, when we started this program, about 1/3 of our services consisted of lead, either partial or entirely lead. The established village code puts the ownership and maintenance responsibilities on the premises owner with the following exceptions. If the leak is caused by village work, the village would replace all or part of the service at no cost to the owner. If there's a leak between the water main and the roundway, which is the shutoff, which is typically at the property line, again, the village would replace that leaking portion of the service. And if there's a leak on a commercial service, like a fire service to a commercial building, the village would repair that up to the curb line, which is the demarcation point. However, as of the enactment of the Lead Service Line Replacement and Notification Act in January of 2022, partial replacements were no longer permitted. So what did the act consist of? Trustee Myers, you talked about risks and legislation that can affect the village. So this was an unfunded mandate from the state of Illinois. So every community in the state of Illinois that has a lead service has to adhere to this as of 2022. What it meant was that partial lead line replacements were no longer permitted. So if you have a leak on your lead service, since 2022, we can no longer do a spot repair. You're required to replace the entire thing. And for a system of our size, the act also dictates that we have to remove all the lead by end of year 2037. The act is quite long and also covers these other obligations. There's notification requirements. We have to establish a lead service line inventory. We have to replace lead service line when making repairs. There's requirements for contracting for repair and replacement. And I didn't have it on here, but there's also the requirement to publish a publicly available long-term replacement plan, which was included in your agenda for tonight. So notification requirements. So if you're lucky enough to have a lead service at this point, you probably get too much mail from us on a yearly basis. Some of you in this room have probably gotten multiple notices from us. So we're required to do a general notification in March of each year to all residents with lead services. So this year it was about 1,300 letters that went out at the start of March, which details the risks of lead, and as well as means by which you could have your service replaced. I'll just cover those in a little bit here. We provide notice to those that are eligible to proceed with the voluntary program in that budget year, and give them steps to complete their replacement, as well as how to close out the process and receive their rebate. In coordination with engineering, we send out road rehabilitation notices. Any customer within a given radius of a water main project, in this case, this year was Foxdale and a portion, 2 blocks of Cherry Street on the west side. They also get notices regarding the risks of lead. There is a non-zero chance that the disturbance to the ground from construction can cause a increase in the lead content in the water. So because of that, the IEPA mandates we give notices to everyone. Even if they have a copper service, you still get a letter regarding the risks of lead. Specifically, residents that are in the work zone that have a lead service, in this case, this year, Foxdale or Cherry, received instructions from the village on how to proceed with replacing their service, including a pre-negotiated price offer from the village's contractor. And lastly, any resident that happens to have a leaking lead service throughout the year also gets similar instructions on how to replace their service. So one of the requirements that I mentioned in the legislation was to develop an inventory. The village was required to post an inventory of service line materials starting in April 15th of 2022. Luckily for us, we have very robust records of our service connections. We have records dating back to the turn of the century, actually a card catalog, believe it or not, of the information regarding all the services that have ever been installed in the village. This was actually a pretty straightforward exercise for us. We have to put it in a format that is acceptable to the IEPA and submit that each April. And we also put it up on the village website. So throughout the year, any resident or anyone can go on the village website and search by address and find out if it's a lead or a copper service. Summary of that data is below. So you can kind of see how we've progressed from 2022 to 2025. The trend is going in the right direction. We're removing full or partial lead services from the system and replacing those with copper. You will notice at the bottom, the total number of services has declined slightly. Part of this exercise, you'll notice, was eliminating unknown services. So part of that was actually going out in the field, doing excavations, looking at connections to the main, finding out, okay, this service has been abandoned. We can remove it from the database. So there was a little bit of cleanup efforts over the last few years. So this 4,500 number you see here is probably going to be the number going forward. So replacement of lead service line and making repairs. So again, as I mentioned, as of 2022, all portions must be replaced. It is state law. If an owner replaces a private portion on their own as an emergency repair, the remainder of the service must be replaced within 30 days. If the village is conducting planned replacements as part of a construction project, i.e. road rehab, we must provide those customers with 45 days advance notice before the replacement work begins. And additionally, as I mentioned, when the village is performing work in an area that has lead service lines present, we must provide a multilingual written notice in 14, it's actually the cover sheet is in multiple different languages. We give that to them 14 days prior to their work commencing, again, to all homes, regardless if they have a lead or copper service. Prior to the replacement of a lead service line in a construction zone, we're also required to give filtration methods. So those residents, again, on Foxdale or Cherry this year that had the village replace their service, got essentially a Brita pitcher, which is specifically designed to remove lead. We also provide refills because the cartridges do expire at a certain point. So again, that's state law that's requiring us to give those filtration methods to residents. Any owner that refuses to replace a lead service line must sign a waiver from the IDPH, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and then that's held on file in their database. But we do make every effort to encourage all residents to replace their services. So contracting for repair and replacement, when we contract for lead service line repairs, the act dictates that the village must make good faith efforts to use contractors and vendors that comply with MWBE. Thus far, we've done this as part of our road rehabilitation contract. We've had success in this area. When we do road rehabilitation projects, typically the village pays to replace the lead service line from the water main to the shutoff. We've always done that, but now it's just part of the process is now the private portion has to get addressed, whereas before we would leave it lead that is no longer allowed. We're also required, and we do this each year, we give a pre-negotiated price for private side replacement if you were to use the village's contractor. So this year it was A-Lamp. We worked with A-Lamp to get pre-negotiated prices to take it from the B-Box into the home and complete the whole service. We give that to residents. They're under no obligation to accept that offer. What we've actually seen is residents have been getting pretty savvy at this and will actually pool their efforts. So a group of a half dozen or a dozen of them will go in together and get one contractor and get a better price than we can offer. So they typically go with a third party. So a lot of competition out there. It's doing well for the prices. So all those residents that complete the replacement process are then eligible for up to a 50% cost reimbursement, which is capped at $5,000. So just to recap the history of the voluntary program, in September of 2022, we held a study session that we established with your direction the policy of rebates up to $5,000. This was pretty consistent with what our neighboring communities are doing in terms of potential reimbursement to residents to offset the costs of lead service line replacement. Similarly, just a month after that, as part of the fiscal year 2023 budget, we established funding for 20 slots in the voluntary program. This was $100,000. We didn't anticipate the strong demand for this program, and on March 1st, the first day people could sign up, all those slots were claimed within 36 hours. We started to establish a wait list. Once we got to the middle of 2023, we realized the wait list was so long that we could seek your approval for additional funding, which we did for additional 60 slots. The total spend for fiscal year 2023 was $157,270. So you'll see that is not even half of what was allocated. And I think what we've run into is people were very eager at first to get themselves on the list, but when they see what the true cost is, it's not always feasible for people. People that have been on the wait list for multiple years are in some cases accumulating funds to pay for this. It is not necessarily an expensive project, so some people it takes them time, or if they were moving out or they just for some reason lost interest in the program, they let their eligibility expire. So we didn't hit the full $400,000, but we got close to half of that.
What's the average cost?
I'll get to that. It's on one of the next
You
slides.
are, great, thank you.
Yep. For the fiscal year 2024 budget, we budgeted 80 slots. About half of those were used by the end of the year. This year, we took a more conservative approach and did 50 slots, and we're actually estimating about almost all of those slots will be used by the end of this year. The current wait list has about 140 participants. We expect by the first of the year. Residents at any time can walk into Village Hall or call and talk to community development and put their names on the list. It's at no risk to them, no cost to them. We keep that list in sequential order, and as people come on or decide to go off, we just work our way down the list in sequential order. We feel like demand for the program remains high going into future budget years. So what is the budget impact of this? As I mentioned, this was an unfunded mandate from the state of Illinois. So the water fund and the village as a whole was grappling with how to administer this. So as such, we've been raising water rates an additional 1.5% each year since 2023 to fund these rebates. We've also had to absorb additional material costs for water service line connectors and water meters. So the village is unique in that we do our own taps. We provide the tapping sleeve that's on the main, the connections, everything that it takes to get that service to the property line. We provide that material so that those are costs that are true costs that are absorbed by the water fund. And up until this year, with the impending AMI deployment, we also had to buy additional water meters for those additional service line connections, because every time someone upgrades their service, we give them a new water meter. So these are all real costs that have been absorbed by the water fund. We also, with your approval, as part of last year's budget, increased the staffing size of the water department, in part due to the added workload from lead service line replacements. So whereas we would typically do 30 to 40 taps per year, we're somewhere north of 60 or 70, which is just added workload for our department. You can see here, this is the projected CIP impact. This is in $1,000. So you see water main projects, emergent leaks, the voluntary program, and at the bottom, the annual total. So this year, we're projecting to spend just shy of $500,000 in reimbursements, which equates to about 100 lead service line replacements. And then you see in the out years, we feel we can be a little more aggressive in the coming years in terms of not just the voluntary program, but as projects that are going to coincide with stormwater, especially the tree streets are going to allow us to address a lot of lead service lines. So the next couple years, the next 3 years, we're going to be more aggressive in terms of the spend. And then obviously the longer we go, the fewer services we have, so the less we have to spend. But you can kind of see the game plan here through 2035. So just some overall statistics of how the program has been running the past few years. We need to average somewhere between 90 to 100 annual replacements per year to hit our goal of full removal by 2035. So if you recall, based on our service size, the state mandate says that we have until the end of 2037. We're trying to be more ambitious and try to get there by 2035. We have to average between 90 and 100, which we've actually been doing consistently over the last 3 years. So we feel like we're making good progress and we're on track for our goals. Here, Trustee Abitoff, you'll see the cost. So the average total cost for a full replacement, so this is not part of a road rehabilitation project. This is just someone on a random street decides to replace their service. They can expect to spend somewhere in the range of $17,000 for that.
Is this on ALAMP's numbers or the negotiated rate?
These are true costs. So part of the program, in order to receive reimbursement, is we do it almost like a mini audit of what they send us the quotes, they do the work, and then after the work is complete, they send us their final paid invoice. So these are actually true costs that customers have paid.
And how many people are just kind of voluntarily doing it on their own each year now?
Well, this year it'll be about 45 people.
So in addition to the folks on Foxdale and Cherry who are kind of taking advantage, there's another 45.
Correct, yeah. We have it'd be somewhere just shy of 200 people on what we call the voluntary list.
Yeah.
And then we take the first, in this case, 50 this year, and those people are eligible to achieve reimbursement.
So Nick, let me just build on that, because I just want to try to connect some of these numbers. It says for 2024, there were 80 slots budgeted, but only 41 were used. Is that because of people falling off the list, or with just the pure capacity of what can actually get done?
I don't think it was a constraint in terms of labor and material on the village's side. I think it was, like I mentioned, people got into it and realized how much of an undertaking it was. In all these cases, you're talking about a contractor boring a pipe into your basement. So if you have a finished basement or nice landscaping, you might decide to pump the brakes, like this is something I'm not interested in. Or if you're moving out, or if you're in an age bracket where this is not important to you, you may decide just to defer.
Okay. So for instance, like both years, it says 41 and 45 were used, but then later on, we just talked about 90 per year are done. Is the differential the complete volunteer ones? So these 41 and 45 are the ones we're.
Right, so the 90 to 100 is a combination of multiple fronts. So that's the volunteers, that's road rehabilitation, that's leaks, and then it's
Okay.
also new home construction. So every new home that's constructed, it's between, Scott can correct me, somewhere between 20 to 30 new homes per year. If it's an older home, it has a lead service, that's a lead service that's getting replaced with copper.
Right.
So it's a
Okay.
multi-tiered effort to get to that 100 per year.
Okay.
I know
But
we're supposed to get these replaced, but if people aren't going to want to, they don't want to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
that's in my concluding comments. I have something to that effect, so, yeah.
So just kind of going,
Can we let him finish?
oh, sorry, because
Yeah,
Please do.
yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So you'll see, obviously, if you do a full replacement, so this is the voluntary type or leaker type scenario, the cost is more. The village is offering $5,000, so we're covering about just less than a third of the cost for these residents. In the other case, if you happen to be on a road rehabilitation project like Foxdale or Cherry this year, your costs are lower because you're only paying for the portion from the parkway into your home. This year, the average was about $7,500, so the people weren't even getting the full rebate. They're getting half that, so $4,750, whatever that comes out to be. But we still cover up half the cost, up to $5,000. So your rebate is going farther if you're on a road rehabilitation project because the village is paying for our portion of the service. You can also see this is kind of a running total, the chart at the bottom here. This is our goal. So the blue bars are the cumulative total removed, and then the red bars are what's remaining. Again, we want to get to mission zero in 2035. So just my closing comments, which I think will address some of your questions. We feel confident that we can continue to meet our lead service line replacement goals in the near term through a combination of multiple measures, new home construction, leakers, voluntary program, and road rehabilitation. As I mentioned, the impending stormwater work that we're going to discuss this year for the coming years coincides well on the tree streets with a lot of areas where there's a high concentration of lead services. So that's kind of going to kill two birds with one stone in that regard. In the 5 to 10 year time horizon, to your question, we may need to revisit this. I think we're going to get to a point where the volunteer list has shrunk. We may need to look at the economics of this. Costs are obviously going to go up. The volunteer list is going to shrink. Do we need to increase the incentive? Do we need to take a second look at this? So I don't think that's going to happen in the next 3 years. I think we have a pretty long list of volunteers as it is, but in the 5 to 10 year time horizon, we may need to take a second look at this based on the strength of the voluntary program.
But to that point, there's no legal means we have to force people to do this. I
No,
mean,
they
and
can opt out. They can
Right.
sign something and say no.
Right, that's what I figured. Okay.
The problem will become in their resale.
I was just going to ask,
So
are people
it's-
touting this as a plus that they've replaced their,
Yes, and at this point, it's surprising because not that many people are calling to check before their house is on the market or before they buy or whatever. But I suspect that in the not-too-distant future, it will become a question on disclosures.
so it's not a requirement.
It's
when
not
you
a
sell.
requirement.
It is a requirement. You have to disclose
You have-
lead in your home as part of the resale
You,
disclosure.
I mean, it's not specifically that,
Yeah.
because it's, do you have unsafe water because of lead, you know? So it's not specifically that, but because this is throughout the state, I think that probably the disclosures will change. And as people are more used to it and people are more aware of what's going on, more people will be asking about the status.
Well, one thing we've talked about, and do you have more comments?
Just two more quick comments.
Yeah.
These are all great questions. So in the absence of grant or debt financing, the water fund is going to continue to raise revenue through the rate base to cover these rebates. That's our only means to recover our costs here. To that point, we're currently conducting a water rate study to refresh the 2017 water rate study, those of you that were here and remember it. We expect those results in September. We'll bring those to you at a future meeting. Obviously, costs of everything have gone up since 2017. We take a closer look at our assumptions. The cost of road rehabilitation has gone up. The cost of labor has gone up. So what do our rates need to be for the next 5 to 10 years to make sure we're maintaining a healthy water fund? So expect that later this year. So that's all I
Okay.
had.
Other questions for Nick?
I'll come down.
Trustee Myers?
Is there a threshold, this is maybe more for you, Scott, is there a threshold in a house remodeling where we say, all right, we're going to throw in, or we're going to require a replacement of the lead line? I mean, if it's a new house, right, they can't put in lead. But in a remodel of an existing house, are there any requirements or stipulations we have?
Yeah, it just depends on the size of the service that's in there. I don't know the exact thresholds, but if it would require,
So if it requires a new water system, but if they're remodeling a basement or bathrooms or, X% of the value of the house, we don't have any requirement that says, okay, you've hit a threshold, now you gotta also do the water main replacement.
don't believe so.
I'm not aware of that either. I think it's based on the demand of the water service. So if you're adding an addition, you're adding fixtures that are going to push you to a higher water service size, then you're required to replace it. Yep.
That was one of my questions, because are these lead lines at 1 inch or lower? And so then modern households have at least a 1.5?
So the lead service lines are typically 3/4 of an inch or smaller.
Right.
That's when they were installed. If you can imagine all the sedimentation, it's probably much smaller than that at this point. The smallest service line we put in now is 1.5 copper. So the
Right.
volume is just almost twice as much.
I guess I'm sorry, you done?
No, I
ahead.
mean, the one thing I just want to put out there, and then we had talked about at the time of sale, adopting an ordinance requiring new purchasers we talked about it at one point, I remember. Adopting an ordinance that would require buyers to be put on notice by the sellers, and, do a thing educating the realtors, because that's one of the things you've said, that surprisingly, it doesn't come up on transactions. I mean, that's the time to do it. We could really accelerate it by adding that, by making sure that people are aware, and so it can become part of their transaction, negotiated cost, and, that sort of thing. We've talked about that idea.
Do you think, for the real estate community, do we believe that in today's world, that buyers are not aware of the issue of lead in their water?
They may be aware of the issue of lead. Everybody gets a pamphlet if their house is built before 1974, I think it is. It says what's to know about lead in your home and whatnot. But I don't know that everybody's aware that there's a requirement that the pipes that go out of your house have to be changed, or that there has to be a waiver. So it's becoming people are becoming more aware of it, but I don't think it's
I'd be interested if
common
other
knowledge.
communities actually instituted ordinances on this.
No.
I don't know that we
well,
need an ordinance for it. I think it's going to probably end up taking care of itself,
Well,
but
I think it's unique in Illinois because we have the highest level of lead pipes. So if people are moving, and we've had a couple people move into our neighborhood, and, you've had that conversation, and they're just astounded to hear that lead pipes were still being, or lead service line connections were still being installed. Wasn't it as late as the 80s?
So in Winnetka, we usually snapped line in the 1950s. That's
Yeah.
when we typically see that they fell off and copper was being installed. But until the 50s, lead was still being installed in
Yeah,
Winnetka.
and so I think it's a matter of education. If
Yeah, I
somebody's
think it is.
relocating
Yeah.
here, they may not realize it's an issue since it was not really the fashion in other places. It's just a thought.
I think we have a good program that we created, put in, with this up to $5,000 credit. I'm a little torn, obviously, it is an expenditure, but I also don't want to reward people for saying they're, like, the Dearborns want to wait.
I'm about to announce about the Dearborns. I've got something to say on that. So, Nick is aware.
In case somebody wants to delay because they think we're going to pay more, it's a penalty to the people who stepped up early and said, I'm in, let's get this done. So increasing this, and at some point, I'd like to not continue to raise water rates
Yeah.
on our
Well,
our residents.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
What I don't understand is, okay, we hit 2037, and we say, geez, we've got 250 homes still in Winnetka that are on lead.
They signed a waiver.
They signed a waiver.
Signed a waiver.
What, does the state say, no, you still have to do it, there's a penalty?
No,
We'd
That's what it is.
have met our obligation at that point.
better obligation.
Yeah, so I think at this point,
they just
I
have-
wouldn't,
yeah,
yeah, I
that's
wouldn't
it.
put any requirements or mandates or ordinances and, you know,
And they
No,
will-
I was just trying to,
continue. No, I think that we're all
trying to
kind of
formulate
thing.
to raise it in the real estate, because
Awareness.
well, it's the easiest way to take care, I mean, we've all
Yep.
bought and sold houses. The easiest way is to somehow get a credit back at closing that you're going to get paid by your mortgage, right? That's the way to do it. People have a hard time showing up with cash to close or cash after they close to pay for these sorts of, it's much easier to somehow get a credit at the closing table that was financed by your mortgage company, to be blunt.
I will say that the legislation and the way that the state has administered it has been a little bit all over the place, as you can imagine. So the waiver is currently an option. I don't know if we should treat that as it's always going to be an option, but at some point, you can't compel someone in their private residence. They can always tell you no, so there has to be some mechanism for that. But the waiver, we shouldn't count on the waiver existing for the next 10 years. That the rules could always change, so.
I love the fact there's still there's one brass pipe in the,
I saw that, yeah.
Well, I was looking at the cast iron. Those are going to
yeah.
crumble at some point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, they will, they will. My only question on the wait list.
Yep.
That I think there's a nuance to it. And first of all, Nick's colleague, Drew Sikowski, manages the wait list, does a great job. Drew will come out to your house, and he'll go through the whole thing with you. So Drew's fantastic. So I'm on the wait list. And I'm going to say here that I'm going to exempt myself from the village subsidy because I don't want any insinuation on anything if there's any change here. I haven't talked about that with Jane, but I'm going to exempt ourselves from the 5,000.
she's put you back in.
So we're on the wait list, and I've talked to Nick about this. We want to replace our driveway and do the work. And we're going to go do the work, and we're going to do it. Take your example, Tina. Someone moves in, they want to take care of the lead lines. They go on the list, they're number 150. So they've got 3 or 4 years to wait. My thought on that was if someone's on the wait list and they do the work, why should they not be eligible for the subsidy if it's still around when their name would come up on the list? So they move on to, Arborvita, they have a lead line, they say, I've got young kids, I want to replace the lead line, but I'm 150 on the list. When they come up on their 150, it's 2028. Maybe, they did the work, they get reimbursed.
The money.
I mean,
wouldn't you?
it seemed to me, and I would, we're going to do the work, I'm out, but I really think from a fairness standpoint that we should consider that. Because you use the example of someone moving into town, the work hasn't been done, they want to do the work, the village wants them to do the work.
I would be interested to know just the data, how many people who buy a new home find out it has lead and don't take care of it immediately. I think we are seeing, when I have conversations with people, some people are like, lead's no big deal. I'm never going to change it, right? So existing residents. I would be interested to know how many real estate transactions occur where somebody is notified and then they decide to go on the wait list and wait several years. That would be surprising
I don't know
to
the
me.
answer on that, and I don't know the answer on how many people are out there that want to redo their driveway and just do this. I mean, we want these people to do this.
Yeah,
This is,
no, right.
this is part of our health and safety mandate with the village and now the state, and we should encourage it. And again, I think that Drew does a magnificent job managing this wait list. Believe me, I do. But I do think this is a nuance that we should consider.
Do we inform people redoing driveways, redoing, yard,
Remodel.
significant yard or
the
remodel?
time.
Just because if we at least inform them and then they have the option to go on the wait list, we may see more of an uptake.
I don't know if there's an ability to cross-check when a permit application comes in for something. I mean, we have to submit a permit application for a driveway.
Yeah,
The village should probably say, hey, you have lead lines,
right.
you may want to do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anytime you come in for a building permit application.
I don't know if they can do that or not.
We'll have to talk to community development just to see if there's a cross, use the published database that's on the website and just say, oh,
Yeah.
by the way, you have a lead line.
It's just
Do
like
you wanna
another
do this work?"
checklist item.
So, in addition to the annual noticing that,
Right, so anyone with a lead service is going to get that notice in March, so they're going to know. And then when they're planning for a project during the year, that could be in the back of their minds. They could hop on the list, but I understand if your number's not going to get called for 3 years, but you want to do the project now, that's,
Yeah.
I suppose if we're going to take that approach where we are committing to a $5,000 rebate in 3 years' time, does that create?
I wouldn't commit to, I would commit that if the program is still in place.
Okay.
We're not going to, we don't know if we're going to budget this in 2027, but if it's still in place and you're, and I would just do it for the amount, let's say we increase the amount to 7,000. I would keep that person at 5,000. They did the work in 2025. They're eligible when their name comes up for the 5,000. That's what I would do.
yeah, I understand your recommendation. I guess the question I would have for Nick in terms of how this is administered, if someone's going to be doing the work to be eligible for reimbursement later, you're still going to have to do the auditing to make sure that it was done correctly, right? So you still have the administrative responsibility in addition to the ones that you're allocating for the year.
Correct. And I guess, are we then creating a future liability on the water fund because we owe X amount of dollars?
No, I wouldn't say you owe,
In future years for residents?
that person would be on the list. Presumably, they
If the
would
funds
wait.
are- If
The
the funds are
council
there.
still has the ability to cancel the program, at
Correct.
which point
Right.
And they're out.
it is out.
Correct.
But assuming that it's still in place, when their place on the list comes up, yeah.
No, my only point was the administration of it,
Yes,
and the
it would-
auditing and the verifying that it was done correctly. All that is going to be done in addition to the scope of work that's being planned year over year. So this program's complicated. And it's been,
is
Drew does a lot of hand-holding, so I don't know how many would take advantage of it.
Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
But it would require, you're going to have extra record keeping and extra auditing on top of the work that's being done, and they're pressed to get it done as it
Well,
is.
But, part of me just feels like the wait list, the subsidy, in my opinion, always was for existing residents who may have had financial issues. If somebody's going to be replacing or doing a big project on their house, I don't know what the value is. If you're going to be, adding an addition or something, then, you should really be required to
Step
update.
up and pay it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I should say that is a carve-out that exists.
Okay.
So if the service line replacement is being triggered by a renovation or as part of another project, they're not eligible for the rebate.
But they're not
That's-
required to do the replacement if they're doing an addition.
If the plumbing code says they have to upgrade their service, they'd be required to do it, but they wouldn't get the.
But that may be only adding a bedroom or a new service line. It would
It's
be.
adding fixtures that would
Okay.
require an upsize in
Bathrooms.
the water
So if you
service.
just, if you decide to create a butler's pantry and put a sink in your butler, that's a fixture that would trigger
In
it
a
that way.
bathroom or
Yeah,
whatever else
right.
goes
Could push you over the limit where you
Yeah.
have to upgrade, right?
But I think in my mind, we get into this slippery slope of, well, I'm on the wait list and then I did the work and then 5 years later, I don't know if that's the intent of the program, because there's people, I guess in my opinion, there's a lot of people on the wait list who could afford it. And I thought the wait and the subsidy was to help people who couldn't really afford it.
There's no
Well-
needs-based assessment.
No.
We didn't do
Yeah,
any
we can't
means
do-
testing.
And there,
I'd like to think that, yeah.
Yeah.
no, there are a lot of people on this list, Tina, that could afford it, but the village has subsidized them. That's
Yeah.
just part of the program.
It was to mitigate the cost shift from.
No,
the
I know.
state.
Here's the reality, though. There are 990 lead lines left, or whatever. There are 140 people on the wait list. There's going to be a point where it's going to, stop.
Yep.
There will be 500 lead lines, and these people are not moving on them.
Yeah.
And the village wants them to be moved on.
Yep.
So
That
how
day
can
is
we
going to come
encourage
at
it?
some point.
But to that point, right, if in 2037, there's still 500 lead lines, as long as those people know.
On the waiver.
And when they sell
so
their
be it.
house, they're going to have to deal with
They're
it.
going to have
I-
to deal with it.
I kinda
So I'm
think
not too
So the
worried
example
about it.
Tina brought up of the people moving in, they've got 2 young kids, they want to change, they want to do it. I kind of feel like the village should accommodate that in some way as part of this program.
under your recommendation, they would, right? They do it.
Well, that's my
You
recommendation.
could go on the, yeah, you go on the
Not everyone
list.
might agree with that, but I think that's right. I think that they go on the back of the list.
Yeah,
They're coming in, and I don't know how many lead lines from new home buyers might be replaced, but I don't know, a dozen, half a dozen?
Do you see it come up in your transactions? And do you get, is it a credit closing that the seller is essentially?
Yeah, oftentimes there is something worked out at closing, although with the market the way that it has been, frequently people are just like, whatever, we'll take care of it. So it goes both ways.
Well-
But, I mean, I think the important thing is that it is becoming more well-known, so people are more aware of it, and I
We want-
think eventually it's going to end up a specific item for disclosures, but.
We want people to do this. That's the point.
Yeah,
And so if we can accommodate a few, I think we should. Again,
I'd be open to that.
yeah. So I don't know how we
Hey,
proceed with
You could go around the table.
Yeah.
I think
Before
if
we,
go ahead.
can I, so under your scenario.
Foxdale, by the way. Foxdale guy.
yeah.
Actually, the numbers prove
already
true on
freeloader.
Foxdale. It was like almost to the dollar. But under your scenario, though, if we allow that, let's say, get your place in line to get funding, if you do it now, maybe it's, 3-5 years down the road, isn't that going to then create an incentive for everybody in the community just to throw their name on the list?
Everyone with lead lines,
Well,
everyone with lead lines, and they'll,
Right, but then you're going to have basically, get on the list, because whether you want it now or not, then at least you hold your spot in line, and then the folks that, whatever, are misinformed or didn't get the notice, and they end up at the bottom of the list, but there's sort of the need there, right? I mean, are we, is it more or less first come, first serve of signing up? You were in the know.
but there are 800 people right now that have been notified that they have lead lines, that they have opted not to go on the list. So I think getting them, notifying them, they go on the list, their name comes up at number 400 in 7 years. They don't want to do it, they don't do it.
And then what?
Do it now, they,
So that's
Yeah,
the other.
that's good.
now they still
That-
get their.
that's
line-
good, though.
Place in line. To
you
get
want them to do
reimbursed.
it now.
Yeah. So let's say someone goes on the list, or, we open it up, right? Just
Yep.
reserve your spot.
Yep.
And it's their turn, like, oh, I'm not going to do it now. So what happens? They fall off the list?
They go to the back of the list,
They go to the bottom.
go to the back of the list. And this program may not, there's no guarantees this program's going to be available. We may-
That's what I'm concerned about, though, is I know we say there are no guarantees, but I mean, I would tell you, if I put my auditor hat on, I would want this booked like as a liability.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Is.
I think we, and plus in terms of, I'll even say misunderstanding and hard feelings, we could tell everybody, oh, there's no guarantee, and then some people will say, well, wait a second, but he got the $5,000 last year, why am I on the list? I don't know, I'm concerned it would cause a lot of issues. And again, I do think there's logic to say you have to book it as a liability.
I think there would be I'm not sure, well, we could check with Ron Amon and Tim
I
on
know.
that,
Where's
but,
Ron and Tim?
I think you would have a disclaimer if someone signed on the list that there's no guarantee that I may
But
be wrong on
I'm
it.
sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding. We're saying something more than just putting your name on the list. You're saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it, even though I'm not going to get reimbursed.
No.
There's a list now of 140 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go on that list, so I'm number 141. At the rate we're going, that's 2 years.
2 or 3 years.
Okay, so if we have 2 or 3, I don't think we're going to see an explosion where all of a sudden there's 400 people doing projects and we got a list now of 400 people. I think there will be a slight uptick that maybe we have liability. If we have to book it as a liability, it's 3 years out.
But wouldn't that be good if there was a 400?
It would be.
Increase? I mean, I think that
I
would
think
be-
that's fine, but I don't think we're going to see another 300 people all of a sudden executing projects, right? Because
Correct.
you got to do the Bob Dearborn, I'm going to do the project, right? It's more than just saying, yep, throw my name on the list, and if it comes up, maybe I'll do it. No, it's,
Can I add another potential complication?
Sure.
We make this change, but somebody doesn't follow the rules properly. So like 2 years later, like, oh, I didn't get multiple bids.
No, they have to submit their material. you would have to submit it.
You'd have to go
For
through
Nick
the
and-
that's
audit
and review it.
process.
Saying is
Or-
upfront.
Got it. So
It would
it
be
would
an
require
audit, a
full
greater
un-
burden, as
administrative,
Rob said.
Absolutely, you'd have to
same administrative effort.
Yeah, as Rob said, I mean, it would
Qualifying,
be,
okay.
pay it
got
and you're done.
I'm not as optimistic that there's going to be a significant increase. It's just another,
Don't know, yeah.
hey, we're encouraging
Look
the
at a few
village
more.
residents to be aware of this. We're showing the state we're doing our responsibility as best we can.
There'll be a lot.
And if there's 10 people, 20 people, you know, that's, I don't think the liability is going to be huge.
I think I do agree with Rob that it does create some possible administrative headaches if we open up the floodgates and now it's, instead of 50, it's 140. Do we only answer the first 50 phone calls and the rest we ignore? I mean, how do we, or we just accept the first 50 emails? Where do we, because we only have so much money in the budget, so where do we stop letting people replace their service, I guess is the question.
Could cap it. You know, we could,
Well, I think we have a budget. You cap it at the budget, I would
Okay.
think. I mean, the years where we only had half of the budget used, I mean, that's, this year's successful, 45 of 50 so far, maybe it'll get 50. But the years where we had 80 budgeted and only 41, you know what, if there's not a appetite for this, that's fine. But it just, I feel like we should be encouraging to any extent we can that makes sense for the village, we should encourage people to do this, it seems to me. But
I'm fine with that.
let's go around the room real quick here. Trustee Handler, are you don't like the liability issue? Understood.
Well,
Fair
and
enough.
the potential for misunderstanding and,
Okay,
you know, bad.
concern on that. Kirk, you're not a big fan of this idea.
What's the question?
The question, would you be in favor of an adjustment to this policy that would allow people to do the work and have their name on the list, if it could be worked out contractually and there's not a big liability for the village and to
My
encourage?
reaction, I'm not opposed to it, but I'd like to understand what's the impact of staff time and additional cost on the village
That's fair.
to make that assessment, right? If we got to hire another person now to administer this or whatever, right? What's the?
It's got to be simple. I would agree with that. Bridget?
I agree that I like it in theory, but I would need more information about how it's going to run.
All right. Tina?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not feeling it?
I think there's better, I'm kind of agnostic. I'm not against it. I think there's probably other things we could do to create an incentive for people when they're buying a new home. I don't know if one of the reasons why the uptake this year was so high was because there were a lot of lead service line connections on Foxdale. Like, I don't know if that's part of it. So I'm always thinking about how we can just, kind of create the incentive for people to actually do the work and not just wait on the wait list for the government subsidy.
Well, that's what,
Well, maybe you could limit,
that's what he's hoping.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
but yeah.
Rob?
I agree. I kind of agree with Scott that I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think I think we're going to be surprised how many people don't do this or opt out.
Yeah, I think
It's always shocking to me, and they'll pay the piper when they sell their home, and they'll have to address it. If it's still a hot market, as you said, it's not going to matter. People will just continue to buy and then fix it. But if I can get people that want to do it and are doing the work, I would want to do the work and get it done immediately. And if I had the bonus of one on a list, that'd be nice. It'd be nice to at least have that in the future. But I think, you're right, we're going to have to book as liability. I don't think it'll be massive, but
close
it'll
it
be
in
something.
some way or something like that.
Yeah.
Scott, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I'm envisioning it's the person who's redoing their driveway, who's redoing landscaping, who, is informed that, hey, there is this requirement, because as much as people get mail in March, they forget it. And they're like, okay, if I can do it now and be put on a list, maybe I got to wait 2 years, 3 years. I don't think this is going to be a 5-year, 7-year long list. I just don't see that many people signing
Okay,
up
so
for it.
if we did this, there's two aspects to it. It's the staff time to manage it, and it's the budget. So if we would go ahead with this, we are incurring the staff time, so the only reason we wouldn't cut the check now for the $5,000 if somebody chose to do it is because we don't have it in the budget.
Correct.
Is that the way it would stand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Well,
One sort of says, should we make it so complicated if if we do think this is another 10, 15, 20 people, should we make this so complicated with your name's on the list, you got to wait 3 years for your $5,000, but you can do the work now? Or do we find the money to just pay the people who want to do it?
Well,
Or,
I know that's easier said than done, but
The name on the list, I mean, I don't think that will add staff time. I mean, people, they call, I want to go on the wait list. The staff time comes if they actually do the work.
Right.
The information submitted for review, it's got to be, put in a side folder, whatever, and that's the staff time. So that gets to Trustee Meyer's point on how many would actually do this. And I think most of it would probably be new home buyers, personally. New families come in town, they don't want their house on Arborvitae to have lead lines if they're moving in. And so they
so
might
I
do
guess
it.
a way you could approach this would be, so we look at the CIP in a 5-year window, right, in terms of cash flows. So you could theoretically do all the slots in 2026 and cast the wide net and see whoever takes it, takes it. You have it in the budget enough for all 140, and then by the end of the year who's left, and then you know what to plan for in the out years. That'd be the fairest way to do it, because otherwise, if you just do 50 and there's 100 left, how do you plan for that? So it's going to be a big number you'll see in the budget, but you could theoretically,
I'm not so sure.
it might
but,
affect the cash flows, but that's,
yeah.
could be a way to do it.
Why don't we, you've heard the commentary here. Why don't you think about it? If there's a way to do it that makes sense from a staffing standpoint, from a fairness standpoint, from a budget standpoint, maybe come back to us with an idea at budget time. How about that? Is that okay?
works.
It works.
And we just go from there. Okay. Nick, thank you for this.
yeah.
Problem.
Appreciate it.
Excellent as always, thank you.
Okay, we move on to item 11, old business none. Item 12, new business none. There are no appointments tonight. And item 14, closed session. It says none, but there is a closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation, the purchase or lease of real property, and setting of a price for the sale or lease of village property pursuant to sections 2C11, 2C5, and 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act. Under the motion, when we adjourn the closed session, this open meeting will automatically and immediately adjourn without the conduct of any further business or comments. May I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler? Yes. Trustee Myers?
yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
And we're going to have that closed session in this room. Okay?